Okay, happy Thursday. Today's video, we are talking about what might be one of the most tragic parts of Saul's life. Up until now, he has been doing a pretty good job as king. It's been kind of like up and up and up. And now we hit the part in his story where he is going to crest. It's going to be as good as it's going to be. And it's all downhill from here, unfortunately, for Saul. But the way that this story is told and how it all comes together, I think is a beautiful picture of just how the Bible works and how we're meant to read it. And I just want to walk you through it. So this is the starting in verse 8 with Saul's unlawful sacrifice. And here's how the story begins. Saul is waiting for Samuel to come to him before he goes out to war to attack the Philistines. We're told that he's waited 7 days, which was the time appointed by Samuel. Now, 7 days in the biblical story is the number of completion. So really, he probably didn't wait 7 days. He probably waited as long as Samuel asked him to wait. It's the number of completion. It means as many as it takes. So he's been waiting all this time like he's supposed to for Samuel to arrive, but Samuel has not come. And Saul is in a bit of a pickle now because all of his soldiers are deserting. They're leaving him. And you can probably imagine the position that this puts him in as a leader. He's waiting for someone else to come. They're not showing up. Meanwhile, he's losing all of his people. What should he do? What would a good king do? In his estimation, what a good king would do is just do the sacrifice himself. And so that's what he does. He does the sacrifice. He gives it to all of the people. He leads them through it. And wouldn't you know it, as often is the case, that's when Samuel chooses to arrive. And Samuel says to him, "What have you done?" Remember those words. What have you done? And Saul explains himself. And he explains himself like this. There's two lines, two phrases that I want to zero in on, and then I'll tell you why. He says, "When I saw that the people were scattering from me and that you had not come, ... And then later he says, "So I forced myself," in other words, I plucked up the courage is what the Hebrew means, "and offered the burnt offering myself." And Samuel says to Saul in verse 13, "You have done foolishly." It's a really harsh critique. Okay, why has Saul done foolishly? Like, what did he do wrong? Well, the author here is drawing on two other stories that you are probably familiar with to make a point about what Saul has done. Do you notice a pattern here in the two phrases that I read? Saul sees that something is happening around him that is not good. It is not a desirable outcome. So he forces something to happen. He takes this action for himself. Some of you have heard me talk about this pattern in Scripture. It's the fall pattern of Genesis 3. Eve sees that the fruit is good, is desirable, so she takes some for herself and offers it to her husband. This is exactly the same language that is taking place here. We're meant to see Saul's story as an illusion of what happened in the garden, the fall story of Genesis 3. But then there's another layer on top of that. There's another false story that's being woven within just this one paragraph. Can you think of another story where God's people are waiting for the prophet to come? He's taking a really long time, and so they get impatient and just create an offering themselves. Yeah, this is the golden calf story all over again. The people waited for Moses to come with the instruction from God. They got impatient, so they built a golden calf. The high priest, Aaron, led them in this offering, and it greatly displeased the Lord. This was the fall story for the whole nation of Israel, their first fall story. And so I think that this is Saul's fall story. This is where it all goes wrong. And the reason that this is his false story, it's not just because of the language that's used. Saul, instead of waiting for the Lord, instead of trusting that God's plan is still the right plan, even when it didn't make logical sense, right? Even though he had to wait, he fails to trust that, and he does whatever is right in his own eyes. He does what looks good to him, which is not what God had asked him to do through the prophet Samuel. And this is such an important lesson because a lot of times, when things go wrong in Scripture, we'll see it with David and Bathsheba later in this book. This fall story is right at the heart of it, because a lot of the time what causes conflict between us and God is us trying to go at things our own way instead of trusting in what God has told us to do. Instead of following God, we choose to follow ourselves. We build our own kingdoms. We do what's right in our eyes. We don't trust that what God has told us, it doesn't seem logical, or it seems to make zero sense to us. And so we think that we know better than God and we're going to do it our own way. That is what Saul is doing here. And it is the moment where God says, this can't be my king, because he's not willing to obey. Samuel says to him in verse 13, "You have done foolishly. You've not kept the commandment of the Lord your God, which he commanded you. For then the Lord would have established your kingdom of Israel forever. But now your kingdom shall not continue." And this is an interesting line. "The Lord has sought out a man after his own heart," someone whose heart would be united with the heart of God. "And the Lord has commanded him to be prince over his people." It's interesting that Samuel uses the word prince here, not king. Samuel says God is going to find someone after his own heart to be prince over the people and not king. Why? God is supposed to be their king. So if God is king, and then you have a prince who will follow God as king, then you have the people. This is the second time that Samuel has used that language to describe what the people are supposed to be and what the leader of Israel is supposed to be. Not king, prince. And so I just hope that you'll sit with this for a little while today and over the week to come. Where are you acting like the king of your own life? And what does it look like to submit to God as king and just acknowledge you're not the one in charge. You are the prince. You answer to a higher authority. God is the one directing your steps, or ought to be directing your steps, even when the path he's laid out in front of you seems to make zero sense. Even when you have to wait on him, even when you have to walk a path that you weren't sure that you should be walking, even when your heart calls you in a different direction. God is supposed to be king over our lives. We are the prince. So what kind of leader will you be in your family, in your place of business, even in your own life? Are you going to be like Saul, who carves his own path even when it leads him into trouble, leads him into foolish grounds? Or will you be like the prince, the one who follows after God, acknowledging that God is king, and above him there will be no other, including you and me? I hope that this story lingers with you for a bit. And more than anything, I hope that it shows you how reading the Bible is meant to be this rich exercise where we meditate on all the stories that have come so that we can appreciate the layered realities of the stories that we're reading. We'll see you right back here tomorrow.